This is the Mind of Mansion, and here with me today is RC Fischer. He is the Player Profiler MVP. He has won awards, Player Profiler awards, for the greatest guest, the greatest this, the greatest that, the greatest takes, the best hot takes. We have someone who called Rashad White scoring more fantasy points than Bijan Robinson 2 years ago. We had someone calling Michael Wilson being better than Marvin Harrison Jr. It goes on and on and on and on and on. The things that he has said that I stood behind all along, and many, especially that were following us on social media and saw these quotes come out, maybe out of context, maybe they listened to the show, maybe they didn't, objected, vociferously objected to RC Fischer, just a hot take artist. That's all. That's what he's just trying. He's just trying to. He's doing this for clicks. That's what they're saying, right? He's just, he just wants to have he wants to have the juice from the thing that no one would ever dare to say. And then it turns out the thing that he was the only one brave enough to say would actually happen. So today we're going to talk about quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that are surging up the Dynasty rankings. We'll talk some Drake May, of course. We'll talk some Sam Darnold because the Super Bowl is upon us. So that we will talk about some of the players that are involved in the Super Bowl for sure, but also just a lot of interesting player dichotomies, who we should be focused on in the offseason in Dynasty, who we're paying attention to among the rookies. There's just a lot to talk about. These are the longest shows of the year when we sit down with RC Fischer because he's the man, and I'm excited to get into it. RC, Drake May. Drake May, Drake May, Drake May. Remind us what you thought about Drake May coming out of UNC, and what do you think about Drake May now?
I did not like Drake May coming out of UNC. I did not think he would be anything more than a serviceable starter. I can now see he is the new Josh Allen, a better passing Josh Allen-ish type quarterback. I'm totally shocked and amazed that it's happening, but it is happening.
Why are you so shocked?
Well, I'm usually never wrong, so wrong about that one. Um,
I like
that
this.
that won't give me any
I
clicks.
like super confident RC. I like it. Just get out there, man.
Um,
Just get out there. Yeah, don't listen to these people that
yeah,
just say you're trying to be provocative. No, you're not. You're just mostly almost always right. Just once in a while, you, especially the quarterback position, there isn't a quarterback whisperer scout in the world with a 100% hit rate. So, child, please don't even worry about it.
um, I'm amazed not only at Drake May. I mean, this is going to mushroom fast. The the quarterback play in the NFL in 2025, I think is a signal, is a canary in the coal mine of the entire way that fantasy football is changing and that the NFL is changing, kind of like how AI is starting to change everything, but most people are going, that ain't, there's nothing with the AI. Don't worry about it. It's a bubble. It's a whatever. The
It's just a
quarterback,
tool. It's
yeah,
just a tool.
it's a,
It's just a tool.
I mean, it is going to turn our entire existence upside down, and it's like a train AI coming down the tracks at us fast. And I don't think people realize how fast. One day it's all just gonna. It's happening. Kind of, I won't say slowly. It's happening, and then all of a sudden it's just gonna be here, and there's no turning back. And I think there's a version of that happening in the NFL, really at all positions, but especially at quarterback this year, where all of the sudden every quarterback, spare a few. It used to be there was a couple great quarterbacks, maybe a couple of good quarterbacks, and then everybody else sucked, and everybody was trying to chase the next quarterback in the draft because quarterback was everything. I don't think quarterback is everything in the NFL anymore. Everybody's got a good one. Um, and when I see like Drake May become, last year, when I watched Drake May play, I was like, yeah, that's what I saw at UNC. That's what I thought he was going to be like. And then all of a sudden, he's an MVP caliber player. When I watched Caleb Williams, and I said he's not the number one quarterback in his draft, and he's got a problem in the pocket, and he gets scared in the pocket. And then year one, what did we see? Him getting scared in the pocket and him taking on a ton of sacks and throwing the ball. Guys are wide open and he's throwing it 10 yards over their head. I was like, that's the Caleb Williams I thought we were going to see. And then all of a sudden this year, he is arguably the greatest he's the most talented quarterback in the NFL in 1 year later.
Mahomesian.
Trevor,
Yeah,
yeah,
Mahomesian throws.
Trevor Lawrence, I thought I hated Trevor Lawrence, and for years I was like, "See, I told you, he's just not that good." And then all of a sudden, halfway into this season, it's like, then he's great. But and I could focus on those guys; those are high pick guys, and you go, "Well, they were supposed to be that good and all that." But you would have been better off mid-season with Joe Flacco when we pulled this into fantasy. Joe Flacco's 400 years old and he just switches teams and he's the best quarterback in fantasy football. And then all of a sudden Kyler Murray goes down. They're like, well, we're bringing in Jacoby Brissett. And you're like, yeah, I don't know about that. Oh, okay. He's just going to have 20-point scoring games every week and be a QB1. It's like just one after another. It's like every quarterback is good. There's not a there's a handful of bad quarterbacks, and then everybody else is good. It all depends on what state their offensive line is in, whether there's an injury. I think Justin Herbert is a good example of what can change with a quarterback. Justin Herbert to start the season, I mean, he lost Rashawn Slater. That was a huge blow. But then they moved Joe Alt over to left tackle to protect him. Justin Herbert out of the gates, the Chargers were great. Justin Herbert was the number one quarterback in fantasy. Alt goes down, then Justin Herbert goes down. Then Alt comes back and Justin Herbert comes back up. And then Joe Alt gets hurt again, and then Justin Herbert goes back down. The Chargers lose out games at the end of the season, and then they get whacked by the Texans in the playoffs, and nobody even thinks about the LA Chargers. If Justin Herbert had his offensive line, I think he would have been the MVP of the league. The Chargers would have been a number one seed, and we'd be talking about the Chargers in the Super Bowl right now.
Thank
It's
you.
like, all these
Thank you.
quarterbacks are just coming into. We laughed and I denigrated Jackson Dart coming into the draft. Like I didn't see this version of him in the pros. I didn't see it in
Can
college.
you please?
No, you.
Are you listening to yourself? What are you doing? You're RC Fisher. You've had the greatest takes and contrarian positions that you've taken. No one can compete. So why are you front loading this entire show with "I was wrong"? Stop it.
Well, because I think fantasy football, the way that we play it, the strategies we play it by, and then me as a scout and everything else, it is going to change so radically. The game is going in such a different direction if we use our mindsets from a couple of years ago to play in 2026. It's going to be a problem. I'm spending the off season as soon as the regular season ended. I've been taking notes and making plan. I'm blowing up everything the way that I scouted and perceived and projected the players for the upcoming season and all that. I'm in the process of blowing my entire 15-year way I've done things. I'm blowing it up and trying to reconfigure it for the new era. Because if I don't, I'm dead. And
What
I
is
think
the new
I
era?
think
What are you talking about? What was such a revolution for you this year?
I
Because when you look at the overall numbers, it's not. No, I haven't perceived any cataclysmic shift in the way football's played.
the outputs for on the fantasy football side, well, and even for NFL purposes, but I'll talk about fantasy football first. We we've had a game where there's been, those elite players. Everybody knew those elite players, and just take an injury out of the equation. There was those elite players. Then there was a wave of good players, and then there was a wave of fringe starter type players.
Okay,
NFL teams would have a number one wide receiver, and then a bunch of other wide receivers that were, useless or randos. Once every 5 weeks, they might have a game. The tight
serviceable.
ends
Some
were,
of them were
yeah,
explosive but inconsistent. Otherwise serviceable. Yeah.
the tight ends were big, bulky blocker types that would get the Todd or it was Todd Heap type of tight ends, just the traditional tight ends. You could always count on a team would have their one running back. The satellite type running backs were always made to be kick returners and punt returners. They didn't get the ball much. Well, now I think when we go into 2025 and now into 2026, I'll just pull an example like the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are going to feature an offense of the passing game that we've got to try to figure out, where they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's obviously great at his craft, Jamison Williams, who can be dangerous any given week. This season, he'd go from 0 to 26 to 0 to. When Isaac Tesla comes into his own, he's better than Jamison Williams. He's going to be a disrupt. The Lions have three amazingly talented, differently talented wide receivers. And when Sam Laporta is healthy, then they've got a really talented tight end. They've got four legit guys to throw the ball to, and we're not even talking about Jahmyr Gibbs and whoever else they're going to pair him up with. Trying to figure out where all of these good quarterbacks, there's probably 25 plus, 28 plus good quarterbacks that can get the ball to receivers. They're going to have a whole host of options to throw to. And it's like it's going to be very difficult each year as the college football dumps more of these talented wide receivers in. Every team's going to have 3 and 4 number one wide receivers that all of these well-trained good quarterbacks are going to have to throw to, with athletic tight ends, and then all the backfields are shifting to duo backfields. It's like there's I've likened it to. Do you play poker? Are you familiar with poker at
This
all?
specialist backfield trend is not new. We've had a bunch of. There was a whole trend where the Rams were just hammering people with 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, and then finally it got solved by the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But that was the big thing, and then all of a sudden the whole league starts to shift and go bigger front sevens, and then offenses have responded by adding more blocking tight ends and more 12 personnel. This is all been like ebbing and flowing, and I'm just not seeing this revolution. I'm not seeing where that revolution is, where you would have to tear everything up and start over again, because that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I'm not quite understanding why you're panicking so much right now.
When you've got to, let's look at the running backs with the backfields with multiple guys. When we get another wave of guys from the draft this year, as we've had the prior couple of years, all of these teams, instead of having, like, the Patriots would do a good job of having multiple running backs, but they'd have specialists and they'd make it happen. They'd force it to happen. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah,
Now,
Blunt and James
yeah,
White, yes.
yeah. Now it's not going to be, oh, Bill Belichick's so clever. He took James White and he figured out a role for him, and it works. And he got Blunt. Now there's going to be so much talent. Every team is going to look at their depth chart and go, we've got 3 guys who could be number one running backs here. Like, who's going to be the one that gets all of the touches? Who's going to be this? Are we going to a specialist system where are the Browns going to go to Seattle did a Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet almost pure split, and then Carolina did a Dowdle and Hubbard split. I think there's going to be more and more of those. We've got two number one backs, and we're going to use them, and then we're all as fantasy players and scouts and looking at it and going, man, Kenneth Walker is great. Like, why does he suck for fantasy football? And why is Rashad White not getting any touches with Tampa Bay? And why is, I mean, there's just everything is shift. There's all of this talent is dumping in, and it's causing so many options for teams at running back, at wide receiver. Then we're going to see where teams have two legit tight ends, not just, there's a couple good tight ends and then there's a bunch of everybody else. Now teams are going to have a great starting tight end and then a great number two tight end. So it's like a card game. We've got the standard 52 card, four cards in a four aces, 4K, whatever. It's like all of a sudden we've played cards a certain way, but then all of a sudden they come along and they say, well, now there's 10 kings, and now we're gonna have 6 jacks, and we're gonna have 7 eights, and you're like, I don't know how to play this poker anymore. I don't know how to play blackjack anymore. Though I don't know how to play it like I used to. I used to play it this way. Now I've got to accommodate all of these extra cards and all of this extra talent coming onto NFL rosters. So I think it's going to
is the talent influx not proportionate? So you actually do have to recalibrate your position scarcity. Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that it used to be that these positions were more difficult to source? Like, for example, the quarterback position is now so talented and so deep that late round quarterback has been a tried and true strategy, but it's even more so.
Well,
like maybe even like so in like 2 quarterback leagues and superflex. So you're doing a superflex dynasty startup. We all pretty much do superflex dynasty startups every offseason. You're incentivized to go even later at quarterback because of the Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. Every year you have a scrap heap quarterback that just has a resurgence. I mean, not long ago it was Jared Goff, and then not long ago before that it's always been a Baker Mayfield. It's been a pretty consistent churning of, hey, if you were a top 5 quarterback at some point, we're going to get another chance. You're going to get another bite of this apple, and then you might break out if you're in the right situation with an offensive line and a receiver like Sam Darnold, like Baker Mayfield. You saw what happened when Baker Mayfield wasn't getting the blocking, didn't have the wide receiver talent. He looked very common. When he had it all, he had everything, all the boxes checked, he was putting up 24 fantasy points a game. So that I guess what you're saying is the individual contributors are not as important as identifying the teams that have the pieces in place, whether it be the supporting cast, especially the offensive line and the receivers. And then this offense will just sort of run itself. Everyone's gonna benefit. Everyone's gonna produce, and that becomes more of an evaluation factor when you're thinking about what a particular player will do in fantasy.
And there can be coming up, like we're initially talking about Drake May. Who do you want from the Patriots for fantasy for Drake May this year? The guy almost, he's probably gonna lose it to Stafford. The guy's also almost the MVP of the NFL. Great season, great stats.
Whoa. He might lose it to Stafford. If he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to win the MVP. Drake May is your MVP. If he beats Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford wasn't even there. They have similar stats as throwers. The exception is Drake May was much more productive as a runner. He's just not the veteran incumbent like Stafford, but okay. I'm surprised. Like, great, Stafford got first team All Pro, fine. Like, you give him that, he can have that for his mantle, and I think MVP has to go to Drake May, especially if he wins the Super Bowl. If he loses the Super Bowl, you want to give it to Stafford, fine, but let Drake May play for it. Let Drake May choose his own adventure, determine his own destiny. I'm just very impressed with Drake May in how he has elevated his game, elevated the receivers around him, and then you start to see how cerebral he is, where he's calling plays and not even telling his teammates that he's going to run the ball, and so that they sell it. They've maximum sold this play because they believe it's a pass play. And then the defense feels that. And then Drake May is like, no, I'm running. I didn't tell anybody. I just knew it was the right moment. He just felt it. He felt it intuitively that it was the right moment in time in the game to just pull it down and run it. And he essentially called his own number without telling anybody. As a second-year quarterback, super young, this is amazing. So what's happening with Drake May, I think, is amazing. And people say Josh Allen. I'm like, well, yeah, but Josh Allen really struggled in his second year. He wasn't an MVP candidate. There were questions about halfway through his second year, there were loud questions being asked.
Oh yeah,
shouted.
they tried
Is
to
Josh
bench
Allen
him
the
at one
future?
point.
How long are we going to have to suffer under this job? How long is this experiment going to last? Those were the questions that were being asked of coaches. Not who's calling the plays out there. Is Drake May calling his plays already? Like, it's just a completely different conversation throughout this season around Drake May than there was Josh Allen. So I think that he's sort of he's a combination of multiple star quarterbacks. It's pretty amazing. I think he's sort of a combination of Josh Allen and who else would you compare him? Josh Allen and Brady? I mean, that's where he's trending. I mean, if you took Josh Allen and Brady and you put them in a particle acceleration chamber, and the door opens, you would, I think, Drake May would walk out of that chamber.
And it happened it took one season for the turn. It took a season for the turn for Caleb Williams. Jackson Dart literally was not the starter, was not taking reps really with the ones, and then they're like, oh, we got to go with this guy. And I'm thinking, man, this is early for this guy. He just walks into the league and starts blowing it away. And then Tyler Shugg takes about a half a year to get stabilized, and they put him in, and then all of a sudden the Saints are winning games. And Cam Ward looked fantastic. I think fantastic all along, but he had terrible blocking until they fired the Callahans. It's like
you saw that, right? You saw that after that coaching change, there was a clear difference in Cam Ward's protection rate, and then it translated in him throwing a lot less interceptions, and he was taking care of the football like one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He had game after game. He was no turnovers. At the end in the second half of the season, he had multiple games with no turnovers. You're like, okay. This to me is the signal. He's regularly now putting up 200 plus yards with no turnovers. If you can do that and show that growth and development as a rookie, in spite of having the worst possible supporting cast, I'm very, very in on Cam Ward. He is my guy that I'm targeting in all formats.
I'm into him too, and you definitely see the development. But it's crazy that these rookie quarterbacks, it isn't taking. It used to take 3 years. Then it would take 2 years. Then now we're into year one, and they're already. Jackson Dart, it took 2 weeks before I'm watching him and going, he looks like he looks like a version of Drake May already 2 and 3 weeks into the season. He's acting like this is the easiest game he's ever played. Like, he looked way better in the pros, and I'm not putting him down when I say he looked way better in the pros than he did in college. I'm lauding him. I'm giving him credit. I mean, these guys, Tyler Shugg is that doesn't belong in the same conversation with Cam Ward or Jackson Dart, but he just goes in and he wins games. He knows how to manipulate the defenses. Um, and then when you think, well, it's just a special, young crop of quarterbacks, but then Daniel Jones is doing it. Then Sam Darnold is doing it. Then Jacoby Brissett is doing it. Then Joe Flacco is doing it. And it's like, um,
And who is
how,
Trevor Lawrence
how's,
doing it with? Trevor Lawrence is doing
yeah,
it. It's worth reminding that he's doing it with Jacoby Myers. Trevor Lawrence is doing this with Parker Washington. And I know people are like, oh my God, I love Parker Washington. Don't criticize Parker Washington. Don't undersell Parker Washington. It's like, whoa. The league didn't respect Parker Washington. Okay? So there is a baseline profile that Parker Washington did not have in order to be a top draft pick. And he has a very special set of skills, like a Adam Thielen, for example, right? It takes some time, and then they show it, and it's undoubtable once you see it. Okay, great. We're still talking about possession receivers, and Brian Thomas dropping everything, and still. So if we have Brian Thomas playing well, if we have Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers for the whole season, and now Jacksonville knows what they have, well, you have to respect and draft aggressively Trevor Lawrence if he's still going to be a value. He won't be. I think his current ADP is pretty fair. I look at his ADP on FastDraft where he goes in the Rabbit 15-round best ball tournament. It's a little bit earlier than I would like to take him. So it seems like the public is in on him. But I think in best ball and in Superflex Dynasty, where you're drafting two quarterbacks, right? If we ever in a format where you're just drafting one quarterback and you don't even necessarily need to draft a second quarterback, maybe you do, maybe you don't, doesn't really matter. Single quarterback seasonal league, single quarterback dynasty. I think that's a separate conversation. It still makes sense to go with a premium quarterback in those situations. But as soon as you get into a multi-quarterback build, given how successful the quarterbacks, no matter who they are, that just happen to land in a situation where they have an above average offensive line and at least one good receiver. I mean, as long as you can just find those guys, then I say draft away. But you can't say that about Jordan Love. I don't know who his number one receiver is. Right? But I think that's a nice test. It's like with Cam Ward, I don't know who his number one receiver is going to be, but they're going to find one. I think he'll have one, and he's so inexpensive that he's your QB2. With your QB1 in a best ball league, in a Superflex or 2QB dynasty league, all you need is that Trevor Lawrence profile. Let's go down the board. Who would you be comfortable with, given your current sort of coming to Jesus moment about the league and the depth of the talent of the league, and how overwhelming these offenses are, and the biggest beneficiary are the mid-tier quarterbacks? You would agree with that? Given that,
yeah.
How far down would you go before you draft your first quarterback in a 2QB or Superflex Dynasty League? Sounds like you'd go down pretty deep.
I would just say
Purdy?
I wouldn't be in any hurry. I wouldn't be in any hurry.
Prescott? You got to draft two quarterbacks. Bo Nix is on the board. Purdy's on the board. Prescott's on the board. You feel like it's time, or you're going to keep waiting?
So we're talking two quarterbacks.
Yeah, two quarterbacks. Listen, you told me that you had to rethink everything because so many of these mid-level quarterbacks are putting up big numbers. Last year, Bo Nix had 19 fantasy points a game. Dak Prescott had 19 fantasy points a game. Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence had 21 fantasy points a game. That's incredible. Even Jared Goff, I feel like he had a bad season. He had 18 fantasy points a game.
And if Baker's got his offensive line, he's in the upper group. And if Herbert's got his line, he's in the upper group.
That's right. Well, we know Herbert is up there. Come on. We know Herbert's up there.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield's a great call because he's going to have his offensive line's going to come back healthy. They're going to get stability at the wide receiver position. They're going to get it all figured out. Mike Evans, do you want to be in Tampa, finish out your career or not? Like you say you do? Well, let's talk turkey in the offseason, and we'll go from there. And if you're bringing back Mike Evans, because he said that's where he wants to retire in Tampa, just Mike Evans and Igbuka, just those two with an offensive line, we're good. Like you can build around. Baker Mayfield's only 30 years old, right? He's going to be 31 to start the year. He's 30.8.
That's young for quarterbacks now.
Right.
They're just coming into their prime now.
You could argue Baker Mayfield is a super solid option, that you know what you're getting with Baker Mayfield. And so Baker Mayfield for the next 5 years in Dynasty, pretty reliable option. So if you picked it, that's on our Dynasty rankings on Player Profiler, he's QB 22. So I think what you're saying is you could wait. You could wait until QB 22. That you could go into the year with Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, and Michael Penix. Would you hate that?
Just a gut reaction for top 12, using 12 as like the cutoff line. Would you say Jackson Dart is top 12?
Jackson Dart's top 10. Jackson Dart's young
Williams
with
is
mobility, and the best part is when I talk to Cody, when I talk to NFL draft analysts, there is a good possibility the Giants draft a wide receiver in the top 10. Don't put it past the Giants because of this Malik Neighbors injury. Wan'Dale Robinson's a free agent. Darius Slayton is a fringe NFL player. They know they need help. They need one more receiver. They might go all in on a receiver in the first round. And then that would just be absolutely dynamite. Can you imagine Carnell Tate next to Neighbors?
It's the all of these teams that are going to be able to have a Neighbors Tate, Wan'Dale, the quarterbacks that are going to have an all-star team of wide receivers.
Can you imagine Wan'Dale comes back? He's like, Wan'Dale's like, I want to be part of this. I'm going to come back as the proper, pure, the most. If they brought in Carnell Tate, then Wan'Dale's the purest Y in the league.
I'm thinking of your quarterback question. Do you have Bo Nix in your top 12?
No. Close, though.
Baker, top 12.
No.
Why not?
Because Baker's 30 years old.
Don't tell me his age. Don't tell me his age. That don't matter no more. Josh Allen. So Josh Allen.
There is a perceived value. Okay, you can't have Baker Mayfield. As far as our process, we're not going to have Baker Mayfield ahead of Cam Ward. We're not. Do I think Baker Mayfield's going to outscore Cam Ward this coming year? Yes. But if Cam Ward exceeds expectations, his valuation is going to really climb, and Baker's is not. So you do need to factor that kind of the trade value into the equation.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that we have 3-year projections, and that's what we base this on. But then there's also this age has this underlying factor, which is primarily manifested in the trade market.
And to maybe put a stamp on the quarterback talk, I think if we went down the list of names and really talking about it, there might be 18 guys that we go, yeah, I could see them top 12. Like, yeah, somebody has to be number 13 and 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18. But the differential between 10 and 18 or 12 and 18 or 8 and 14, I think it's going to be the least amount of differential ever in the history of fantasy football is coming. It just happened and is going to happen more in 2026.
We have 2 quarterbacks that are from that Drake May class who do have elite alpha receivers. They are tethered to elite alpha receivers. that have either set records already in their career for numbers of catches, receiving yards through 2 seasons, 3 seasons. You might know where I'm going with this.
Mhm.
Or you might have a guy that like can play every position, has the size, but can play inside, the queen chess piece type of wide receiver. You might have an idea who I'm talking about. While we're talking about people named Drake, right? So we had those 2 quarterbacks. We have Michael Penix Jr.,
Mhm.
and we have J.J. McCarthy. So they're the last from that class that have yet to break out. All right. So Caleb, thank you very much. We got there. Now they're up. And they've both had injuries that have cost them significant portions of seasons. So they both of them have essentially started the equivalent of 1 season. And so you could say that between Penix and McCarthy, they've had their 16, 17 games under their belt. Now heading into 2026, we're going to get to see what they are. This is their chance to actually fully break out. But then even if they don't, that's okay. Maybe they get kicked around the league and become Sam Darnold in 5 years. We don't know. What is your assessment of those 2 quarterbacks right now? Because they're incredible values in every format.
I think they're good examples of this new era in that if you're a young quarterback and you're not showing that you're um, dominant almost off the jump, I, I don't I, I don't have to wane around on you. I'm not investing in these hope quarterbacks. If you're going to give me Sam Darnold, if you're going to give me Daniel Jones as options that are just floating around out there that nobody wants, if you're going to give me Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, if you're going to give me talent that's already proven, Tyler Shugg, why am I going to wane around on Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy to find out maybe they're going to be good, maybe the turn's coming? I
You
don't
think
have to
Shuck's
wait
better
on
than
them.
those 2?
Uh, right now, when I consider the Penix injury situation, I'd have to say yes.
Okay.
I really like Penix as a quarterback, but I mean, you can't count. Why would I invest in that? As an NFL team, I'm also like, why would I invest? Why would I put the whole franchise on this guy? That, God bless him. Um, I feel bad for him, but I can't be investing and waiting around on a guy that maybe he's going to be back in October or November, and I don't know how he's going to be back, and he's got a new head coach. I don't know what system he's going into. I don't know if it's going to work for him. But I'm in an era now where I'm like, why do I don't have to worry about Michael Penix. There's going to be a million other guys. The Darnold, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's a younger guy, whether it's Mac Jones getting traded. I'm just throwing out, if Mac Jones is on Minnesota next year, that's going to eliminate the McCarthy situation. But or if Mac Jones goes to Miami, let's say, then there's Mac Jones to deal with. And what if Malik Willis is the one that goes to Miami with the Green Bay ex defensive coordinator and the GM from assistant GM from Green Bay? What if Malik Willis goes there? And I don't think Malik Willis is as good a NFL quarterback as Penix or McCarthy, but for fantasy football, he could be a QB1.
Yeah, I mean we have Malik Willis as a top 32 quarterback in the league for that reason. Malik Willis has incredible mobility. Like this is exciting. I mean, last year, he only had 12 fantasy points a game, but he didn't embarrass himself. That's all
That's
you
what I'm
want.
saying.
He
It's
didn't
like
embarrass himself. When you have a guy who's going to deliver with his mobility for fantasy football, as long as he's getting in there and he's playing well and you think he's going to get an opportunity somewhere else like Jacoby Brissett, that's all you're hoping for. And that's what you're going to get with Malik Willis. So that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Malik Willis is my 3rd quarterback in 2QB and Superflex Dynasty. Yes, please. That's what I'm saying. I think you could go I wouldn't draft Matthew Stafford because I've heard rumors. These are just rumors. These are just rumors. These are things that people have told me, that his entire family went to every single game. They've never done this before, but he flew them to every single road game, and they made it a point to attend every single game this year. And there were some cryptic social media posts about this tour of the family was taking with Matthew Stafford in the NFL this year that makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what's happening with Matthew Stafford. We have no idea. He's made a lot of money. He's accomplished a lot of things. My thinking is, though, you can't project at all right now. Because even if he told his family in August, this is the plan, that can all change. That happened. This has happened recently, and Tom Brady has already talked about it. Tom Brady has talked about the fact that last season, how hard it was. And you can hear some melancholy in his voice that, yeah, I did promise that I would retire a year earlier. And yeah, I did sort of call an audible at the end of my career. And I went back for one more bite at the apple, and I went home and no one was there. And the house was empty. And that was a bummer. I would like to get Tom Brady on Truth Serum and ask him whether or not he thinks that final season was worth it. It's hard to imagine any athlete saying it wasn't worth it. They almost all, even in their most honest moments, they'll say, "Hey, this is what I'm born to do. This is it almost like I didn't have a choice." Seemed like Tom Brady in that moment did have a choice, and it's possible that even according to him, he chose incorrectly. He chose poorly. But that just goes to show, man. That just goes to show that whatever you have promised your family or your wife at one point in the preseason or whatever it was, he is so angry about missing the Super Bowl. He is, I'm sure if there was an outcome that would trigger Matthew Stafford to return, it would be this, what we saw, which is come this close to going to the Super Bowl, when it's like, we actually have a young defense. Like, how fast did we rebuild this offensive line on the fly? Right? You look up and it's Andrew Whitworth broadcasting for Amazon. And it's like, I remember when he was the left tackle for the Rams. Man, way back when the Rams had a decent offensive. Wait a second. Wow. Right? So
all I could think of when you were talking about that is, I wonder how this quarterback market will be further inflated, watered down, if and when Brady comes back to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders, if and when Phillip Rivers decides to give it a go. Now Aaron Rodgers is going to be back in, and if Stafford returns, it's like every team is going to have a legit start. There's going to be 30 to 32 legit fantasy options. There's going to be no, I don't even know who I think the worst quarterback I watch every week is that made I don't, well, we got Justin Field, we got the whole Jet situation. I want to throw that out. But like Bryce Young, to me, it offends me how he doesn't belong in this era, and he puts up numbers, and they should have beat the Rams in the first round of the playoffs.
And they're going to get better. Those numbers are going to get better. Look at his receiving core is getting better and better. He's going to have another year of development and rapport with Tet McMillan and Jalen Coker, and that team is actually rebuilding. When you look at the quarterback class this past year, you didn't have any 24 points per game quarterbacks. all the quarterbacks were at 22 fantasy points per game, which was Josh Allen, QB1, and under. So there really was a condensing where we didn't have the big Lamar season, we didn't have the big Josh Allen season, carrying fantasy teams, and it it could happen though. If what you're saying is true, then I don't want to overfit the 2025 season into my draft strategy. Okay, if what you're saying is these offenses are getting so talented and they're so unstoppable that all these quarterbacks like Sam Darnold are able to carve up defenses. Well, what could a great quarterback in a great situation who's healthy do? It's just bad luck that Mahomes goes down and Burrow misses half the season, and Josh Allen had no receivers. Right? It's just the way things shook out this year made it so you didn't have a I think what you're also saying is the environment is such that a quarterback could go completely nuclear with like a 26 fantasy points per game season if things break his way. That is still out there as a possibility because you can't have one without the other. You can't have, oh, it's as easy as ever for quarterbacks, mid-level quarterbacks, put up 20 fantasy points per game. Oh, okay. But that also means that Drake May next year, what could Drake May do? Drake May with another year of development, Drake May with a big receiver upgrade, he'd probably be the best candidate of all these guys to put up 24 fantasy points a game. If there's a guy that I'm going to target early, it's probably going to be Drake May, not Josh Allen, because in Dynasty especially, you get all the extra age-based trade value for Drake May. Plus, the Patriots are actually in a better position to support Drake May with receiver upgrades than even the Bills. I mean, the Bills have just face planted over and over again trying to improve their wide receiver core. Everybody knew with Keon Coleman, where they drafted him, everyone looked around and was like, what? With Ladd McConkey on the board, remember we talked about this? What are you doing? How it was such an obvious move. Just take the chalk. Just go. Just don't overthink it in a situation like that. You want to get creative when a guy like Ladd McConkey's off the board, and now you're like, okay, our guy's not here, or the obvious pick isn't here. Let's get creative. Let's take a shot on someone. Let's go. Let's shoot for upside. Let's go Keon Coleman. Okay, maybe I could see that, but not with Ladd McConkey on the board. Ladd McConkey had a bad season, if you follow the chain of events to where I think we're going here, you have a healthy offensive line in Los Angeles in 2026. You have Justin Herbert as an MVP candidate. You want Ladd McConkey this offseason.
1,000%. You're when you're talking about if you've got the offensive line, you've got the wide receiver group. Those are all true statements. Where we used to go, we're going to argue about whether Drake May is better than Justin Herbert, or he's better than Caleb Williams, or is J.J. McCarthy better than Michael Penix. I used to, in my head or with another human being, have the debate like, did you see him in that game and the way that he throws this and what he did in college and his Wonderlic score and all those types of things. When you ask me about Penix and McCarthy now, I don't even almost think about the actual quarterbacks themselves. I start going down a checklist of who's the head coach, who's the offensive coordinator, what are our offensive line grades in our internal grading system, what are their opponents, what's their schedule look like. I don't even think about, like, I love Drake May. And I love what I see from Caleb Williams. And we're talking about, who could be 25, 26 plus point scorers. Drake May. I think Caleb Williams could be in that. I think Cam Ward could be in that group.
Yes.
But I
love it when you say stuff like that. It's the best.
But I also have to stop and think, okay, wait a minute. We got Robert Salah in Tennessee. But no, wait, now we got Brian Daboll in Tennessee. That's a good thing.
That's a very good thing.
And look at their offensive line, how much better it got. It's like
Oh my
the
god, dude. If I had a team, an NFL team, if I was running an NFL team and Mike Tomlin and Brian Daboll both come available, oh my god. I mean, that would be the dream. Tomlin at head coach, Daboll at offensive coordinator. Ship it.
what the I'm looking at when I was talking about blowing up the way that I look at things and all about quarterbacks. I've spent more time researching these offensive coordinator candidates, the up and coming offensive coordinators, really digging in on who Jeff Halfley was or is, what's his background, what is his, what impact might he have on offense in Miami, because I didn't know a ton about him. Where in the past, I wouldn't put as much stock into that. Now, whenever we're talking about these quarterbacks, I'm just instantly going through a Rolodex in my head. Who's the head coach? Who's the offensive coordinator? Who's these pass game coordinator? What's their offensive line situation? Are they going to draft an offensive lineman this year? Like what Ben Johnson did in the offseason with their offensive line, that's part of the Caleb Williams change story is Ben Johnson. But it's also what Ben Johnson did in free agency with going and getting a whole um, 3/5 of an offensive line through a trade and free agency, then drafted a great offensive line. But they changed their
Oh,
offensive
Darnell
line,
Wright. Darnell
and
Wright
Wright was
was
there.
raw. He was seen. This is a classic thing. Darnell Wright, big, athletic, tackle, raw. Love those guys. Love, love, love those guys. Especially if you could maybe get like a guy from a big time program at value. Typically, it's been like the Alabama tackle who is raw, and then he ends up being like a cornerstone player, and he was drafted at like pick 28. Right? I mean, didn't the Chiefs do that last year with the last pick in the first round? Take
Uh,
a front line, a top 5 program left tackle somehow available at pick 32, and it's like that was one of the great picks of the draft.
you'll
Josh
know the
Simmons.
you'll know the NFL has undergone the change and starting to understand it, even if they don't fully understand it, when the left tackles start going number 1, 2, and 3 in the draft, and there's good quarterbacks, and they're still on the board. That teams are going properly after the top offensive linemen, especially left tackles.
Yeah.
Guys like
You don't
Tristan
regret it.
Wirfs.
Even though Will Campbell's not necessarily playing very well. So my daughter's a big Patriots fan, and she actually showed me this clip on TikTok
the,
of
the cut up,
all
yeah.
these cut ups of like Will Campbell whiffing and putting Drake May in difficult situations. And I was like, interesting. Okay. Still, you're thrilled. Worst thing that happens with Will Campbell, worst case, he becomes an elite right tackle. That's worst case. You understand?
The draft this season and seasons to come, the draft pick that may have been the single best draft pick of all of 2025, and he was a guy that I thought was top 3. I think I had him number 3 in overall value, and was trying to make the argument that I would take him number 1 if I was Tennessee, and that is Gray Zabel. When Seattle got Gray Zabel, the teams that passed up on Gray Zabel, I think Gray Zabel is a phenomenal offensive lineman, and he is just now coming into his. I mean, Seattle's rise to power has a lot of factors into it, but the Gray Zabel factor is huge, and the teams that passed up on Gray Zabel is frightening. But we won't talk about. There'll be teams should have took Jackson Dart higher, and rightfully so. But no one will ever say that should have took Gray Zabel in the top 3.
No,
Like
I promise you, I swear to you, during NFL draft coverage and after the NFL draft, we were talking about Gray Zabel. And I was talking about what a great pick that was. And I was focused on small school dog with a mustache. So all Cody told me, he goes, he's dirty. He's dirty. And I was like, wait a second, you're telling me I got a North Dakota kid, a big, athletic North Dakota lineman who's dirty with a mustache? I want that guy on my team. You know, when they're taking all these fancy edge rushers, Michael Williams, right? Or the big DL tackles, of course, Kenneth Grant. I mean, Jalon Walker, Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart. Remember Shamar Stewart? Like, oh, he's a tweener, but he's athletic. And I'm like, how many times have I heard this? And you could just go with a guy that is going to essentially lock in an efficient offensive line. That's what it's one guy. Like Quentin Nelson ensures that the Colts are going to have at least an average to above average offensive line. Just that level of stud. Now, okay, it's North Dakota, okay? So that's not Notre Dame. I get it, but I mean, it's too easy. You get the regional Wisconsin school, right? You've got whatever it is, Wisconsin Whitewater. Right? There's you get a guard from Wisconsin Whitewater who doesn't take care of himself, has no hygiene, and it's like, I mean, I would trade up for that guy. Give me that guy. But no, I understand. Like the combine exists. Player Profiler exists. You know, Shamar Stewart on Player Profile looks pretty damn exciting. Right? This is an exciting guy. Like who would say no to this guy? Who would want this guy rushing the passer? I would. Look how athletic this guy is. Right? But who's in the Super Bowl? And why are they in the Super Bowl? Because he's just able to drop back and throw on time. It's if you can put Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff in that position where they can just drop back and throw on time. Like you said, there's the talent at wide receiver is so deep that these defenses stand no chance. They stand no chance. So I had asked you a question. We didn't get an answer. I'm going to propose a particular 3-pack of quarterbacks as what I believe to be the fringiest of the fringe that you could get away with in 2QB and superflex dynasty leagues. Maybe best ball, depends how you want to go with that. But Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, Malik Willis. If I drafted, those were my 3 quarterbacks. If I showed you my team, hey, I just drafted a startup, here it is, or I just drafted a best ball team, here it is. Here are my guys. Let's say I don't have Malik Willis. Let's say in best ball, let's just say I went, okay, best ball in the Rabbit, it's 15 rounds. Most people are not drafting 3 quarterbacks in the Rabbit. The Rabbit is available now. $50,000 prize pool. We'll get into it a little bit more in a minute. But for now, I'm saying Baker and Ward. Or in Dynasty, if it's a 2QB superflex format, you want a third quarterback always. You definitely want to be thinking about adding on a third quarterback before like the 30th quarterback is off the board. Ideally, you have 3 top 32 quarterbacks. So how would you assess that quarterback room? If that was my quarterback room, my startup had those 3 quarterbacks and I had stud running backs, stud receivers, because that's what that's going to allow you to do, what would you say? How would you evaluate that?
Those 3 quarterbacks are arguably all QB1s in 2026.
He's back! He's back! RC's back. Thank you. We are where are we with the show? We're an hour in. We found him. Here he is. We found RC. He's here. And I did promise we got to talk about the rabbit, so let's do that.
Good.
They say best ball hasn't changed in 5 years. Until the rabbit. Clean, easy, $50,000 prize pool that you can actually win. Show the ownership, show the exposure right there in the draft room. We're talking about a full best ball draft. 20-second time clock takes 20 minutes. And use your host promo code or FAST for a $50 deposit match when you sign up. Now let's go start drafting faster. The promo code is FFM. FFM stands for Fantasy Football Metrics. Use that on FastDraft. You get a $50 deposit match. We also have the $5,000 Super Bowl Super Slam. Pick any 6 guys in the Super Bowl. JSN and Walker are, let's just say they're high owned. But you can go right to fastdraft.app. We have all of the ADPs there. And actually, so you can see the rabbit ADPs. You can see where the value is, set your rankings beforehand. And, in the app, when you're picking players in the Super Slam, we do show you the ownership, so you can see just how outsized the ownership is. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be someone with a theory that you could leave out JSN and still compete. I think that JSN is rightfully going to be in lineups. And then the question is, do we play Hunter Henry? Do we play Cooper Kupp? And then which booster do you put him into? And, I got a good feeling. I think someone's going to get a unique lineup. Even
Christian Gonzalez
just the one game.
Covering JSN in the Super Bowl.
Well, that is a question, actually. That's not clear to me that that's what's going to happen, because Christian Gonzalez is better against pure speed and size.
Outside guys.
Yeah, your stretch X players, your pure X, proper Mike Evans type. The flanker role can typically be bracketed, but it's JSN. To me, this is a very big conundrum. JSN is not the type of receiver you would typically want Christian Gonzalez matched up on, but there's such a chasm between him and the next guy. Let's say it's Shaheed. Do you just erase Shaheed with Gonzalez and bracket JSN? That feels dangerous to me. So I'll tell you, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about strategy and I got my whiteboard out, I would lean in that direction initially, because that's the direction that makes the most sense. Because then you can basically then just shade all the coverage towards JSN and just put Rashid on an island, and they often run him like that. They like to use him as the field stretcher and just erase that. Let people know, hey, don't worry about it. Safeties, just find JSN. That seems reasonable. The Patriots also have Marcus Jones.
I was
who is a hell of a slot corner.
He may be one of the only guys that could stay with him.
Yeah, they could erase Shaheed and say, Marcus Jones, you're going to match up with lots of help on JSN. And then we're saying, Cooper Kupp's going to beat us. They could go in that direction, or they could just say, we're not taking any chances whatsoever with this, and we are just putting our best guy on him and help him as well. So we will have the safety shade and have Gonzalez on him. And if Shaheed beats somebody for a deep pass, then that's the risk we're willing to take. That's how we'll get beat. But we're not going to let JSN beat us. I don't know. I don't know what their strategy is.
I'm hearing Elijah Arroyo as for MVP. Is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Do you like Elijah Arroyo next year, though?
I certainly like him better. I wish there wasn't the way that they run their offense. I mean, I have to. Part of my new strategy, my new scouting, my new whatever, I have to stop and say, okay, what's the coaching situation? If Clint Kubiak's going to be there, I kind of know that offense, and it wasn't really great for the tight end. But Clint Kubiak could be the Raiders' head coach in a day, in a week. And then I don't know who the offensive coordinator is going to be. What is their philosophy on the tight end? But why did they draft Elijah Arroyo as high as they did
They did.
if they're not going to use him
They're going to
as a
use him.
weapon? And he's a real weapon. I mean, we could look back on this draft and look and see Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren in the first 15 picks and go, why the hell did they do that when Elijah Arroyo and Oronde Gadsden are the best tight ends to come out of this draft?
That's a good question. I want to caution you. Okay. I see where you're going, putting extra value on supporting casts and thinking about how deep we can go at quarterback and how far we can push late round quarterback. I love that strategy. I love getting May. I love betting on May as your 25 points per game quarterback and going with that strategy. And then if you don't get May, wait until Cam Ward and Baker Mayfield. I'm in. I'm in. Because I think that's where you were headed, and I'm glad we got there. You with these offensive coordinators, I agree that you do want to be careful when a team hires one of these retread Mike McCarthy level coaches. You need to be very careful when they do that, and you need to get excited when they go with a young guy. I agree with that. I'm with you. However, you want separating the signal from the noise is very tricky. In Seattle, did the tight end not produce much because that the offense was designed to just get the ball to JSN and they didn't have a lot of talent at the position? They had AJ Barner, who is a good solid option, but nothing you would fourth rounder, 23 years old, not super productive in college. Not a guy that we know much about because we don't have any athleticism on him, but no one is confusing him with Gronkowski or Antonio Gates. Okay, is that why they didn't produce much out of the tight end position? Because they were relying on Barner, and he still got 68 targets. Right, still 68 targets.
Yeah, he had
He was a top 20 tight end in points per game, tight end 14 overall. So you could argue, wait a second. They actually supported a tight end that was in the top half of starting tight ends in the league in fantasy points. So then that nullifies your argument. But then also, he's not even that good. So if Arroyo takes a step forward, what is he? He is now a featured option on a team that isn't going to be out here, super invested in the tight end position or the wide receiver position in the draft. You got to think that they're gonna want to bring in an auxiliary receiver, right?
Well, don't forget Torrey Horton comes
They could
back.
be in the market for like a third round, fourth round receiver, but they know they have Torrey Horton coming back. They have Shaheed coming back, or is Shaheed a free agent?
I think he's a free agent.
But
Yeah, I'm almost positive he's a
it's
free
one
agent.
of those things, though, where they clearly acquired him because they like him, and most players sign extensions or re-sign with their existing team. So, all else equal, you have to bet on Rashid staying with the Seahawks as opposed to going to any other team. He had over 1,000 air yards, and when I look at his contract, yeah, 1-year deal, right? So we'll see.
So if Kubiak is back, we know that there's a certain flow that we can look back at 2025. But if Kubiak goes, then you to some degree don't know what their plan is going to be for 2026. Are they going to bring back Kenneth Walker? Would they bring him
Yes.
back and do a split?
They're
Or do
going to
they
bring it
let
all
Walker
back, dude.
go?
They made the Super Bowl. What these teams do is they're going to bring it back. They have to bring Kenneth Walker back because they lost Charbonnet. And I do believe they're gonna sign Rashid Shaheed to an extension. Again, yeah, he was on a 1-year extension that took him through this season. I think he'll be a priority for them to extend. I think he's going to want to come back. And therefore, you're looking at Arroyo being a featured option in this offense. They often will play multiple tight ends or a tight end with an H-back, and that's one less receiver that's going to be out as an option. And so the target share in a place like Seattle, because of the offensive coordinator, what you can factor in there. And Andrew Coop did probably the best job explaining this on the podcast last year. And that's why he was so bullish on everyone in Seattle. And he was as right as rain as anybody in all of fantasy about the Seattle Seahawks. Coop-a-loop. Just play it forward one more year and pound Arroyo.
And like the Arizona Cardinals would show the way of, you can have a wide receiver, like if Brissett is back. I don't know if that Brissett's going to be their starter next year. Um, Brissett showed the way that you can throw all the targets to Michael Wilson and he can become a megastar, but also the tight end, Trey McBride, can also be a megastar at the same time that your main wide receiver is a megastar. So, and Michael Wilson is very JSN like. So Seattle could, we see evidence that you can have one wide receiver that gets everything, but then, oh, by the way, the tight end is also historic. So I'm hoping, when I saw Arroyo at the Senior Bowl last year, I was so impressed.
Yes.
And then when they drafted him in the second round, I'm like, oh, it's on now.
He was impressive at Miami. He was impressive at the Senior Bowl. This guy's a size, speed specimen, and he can play football. And the tight end position is very difficult. Yes, you have some Laportas that happen. Yes, you have some Kyle Pitts. They happen. It's more likely, though, that with all the blocking assignments and all the route running assignments, that things start to click at some point at the end of your first season. Especially if you're going to the Super Bowl, they're not going to want to trust a rookie in a lot of these key situations. Maybe he misses an assignment, a blocking assignment. It leads to a strip sack, and you lose the game. They can't risk that. But he has another full off season to develop, and like he could potentially be the number 2 option to JSN, to be the Trey McBride of the Seahawks, because as you put it, Michael Wilson is their JSN, which is so right. So there's a lot in terms of the tight end position. Let's talk about Laporta and Pitts for a moment. Mm-hmm. Pitts had a couple truly impressive performances. One was an epic week-winning 3-touchdown week. Laporta bounced back, right? He had the massive breakout, the disappointing sophomore season, comes back. His third season was just very solid, very good. How do you see their careers playing out from here, given that they were the early blossomers?
There's so many different ways that a Laporta could now go. When Laporta hit and had his breakout, if we want to keep the Seattle Arizona analogy going, Detroit had Amon-Ra was everything at wide receiver, and then Laporta was a star at tight end that Laporta's first year. But then Jameson Williams started to get better, started to come into his own. And now they have Tesla. And now they have Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know that the situation is ever going to be the same for Sam Laporta to be that breakout star. He's not going to have the situation that we're talking about for Arroyo or a Trey McBride, where you can look at it and go, oh yeah, Sam Laporta is definitely the number 2 best option for that offense. I don't know that Sam he might be the 4th best option if Tesla comes into his own, and I think Tesla will. He could be the 4th or the 5th best option, which is great for an NFL team to have that depth of options. It's great for Jared Goff, but for fantasy football, I have no idea when Tesla's going to come into his own and how fast that's going to affect Laporta and bring Jamison Williams back down to a wide receiver 2-3 instead of a 1-2. Is it going to bring Amon Ra down a couple of pegs? I mean, so the Laporta question for me is the surrounding talent is getting to be too much there to think that he's going to be some kind of breakout star that they build the offense around. He's probably closer to being Chika Okonkwo than he is Trey McBride.
Okay. Laporta is a fade. I think you can still sell him now, still trade him in Dynasty based on his rookie year, the prestige that he's developed over the
Yeah,
last 3 years, and then also the comeback last year, and reestablishing his valuation. I think now is the time to get out on Laporta because the Isaac Teslas of the world are just adding yet more options. It's going to be very exciting to see Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff sounds like a buy if he's throwing to Amon-Ra underneath, and he has Tesla and Williams on the outside. That's an impossible wide receiver group to cover. Tesla's an athletic specimen. He was productive in college, right?
no, he actually was not. They didn't. He was like a number 4 wide receiver for them that rotated in and out. It was a weird offense. It was nothing on him, but that's why he was. People considered him a later day 3 pick, and when
But isn't that why
Detroit,
we have College Dominator, though?
when yeah,
But that's
when
why
you
we have
see his
College Dominator
athleticism
because, like,
numbers,
okay, yeah, his share of the offense was still decent. It's just he didn't have the counting stats.
yeah,
So when I say,
uh,
yeah, I'm talking more he dominated the offense. So that's the thing, man. You get a head scratching pick. That was such an instructive thing, and I was a big fan of Tesla all year. I wanted more from him. I kept wish casting spike
I did
weeks.
too. Yep.
Right, I can. This is something I was guilty of. I'm very guilty of. But I mean, I'm gonna keep my conviction in him because you're shocked when he gets drafted because the draft community did not see the draft analysts did not see him going top 100.
Yeah.
Okay, so no one has him in the top 100, and then they draft him and they're like, oh my god, that's a reach, that's crazy. And then you're like, why was it a reach? And it's like, oh, he didn't do anything. And then you look at the Dominator, you're like, wait, well, actually, he did do enough in what was a super anemic offense. And look at the athleticism. So when he got a chance, he did well. When he got opportunities in college, he did produce. And then he's got all this raw ability. And then Lions scouts, and Lions have drafted well historically. That's why their team is so loaded. It's just weird they didn't make the playoffs. Well, a lot of teams didn't make the playoffs this past year. This was quite the anomaly season for that. But I love Tesla, man. I mean, I think that typically when I'm building a dynasty roster, I want quality receivers. I'm not doing too much fringe sleepers on my bench. That is predominantly running backs. I want to load up on the guys that could be the next Rico Dowdle. That's my running back core. Most of my bench is loaded up on that. And if you're going to do that strategy, you can't fuck around with too many Teslas. Right? You just can't. You can't afford to. You can't afford it. RC. That all said, every dynasty roster needs to have at least one, right? And same thing with the deep best ball. Do I think you're going Tesla in a 15 round, 10 team draft, 10 team best ball draft like the Rabbit? No. I don't think Tesla is in play. But 20 round draft, 12 teams, you better believe it. You better believe it. But it's a great, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because I have no idea how to project that target share this year. Can you tell me what Tesla's target share is going to be this year?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. You
That's
don't
what
have a clue, and nobody does.
That's what's so
That's why it's the
maddening.
perfect guy. This is what I say. We all have a lot of teams, man. We have best ball teams, dynasty teams, seasonal teams. You're doing all you have all these teams you're putting together. A guy like Tesla, just get him in dynasty. If he breaks out, it's going to be on the right team with a pocket passer and a good offensive line, and he can give you spike weeks, and you can just play him in flex and just enjoy the spike weeks, right? That's what you do with a guy like that. You don't need to worry, like if he's not going to see the field enough and he's going to be a drag on your best ball team, you don't need to worry about it. You could maybe you grab him, maybe you don't, right? But prioritize a guy like that and say, okay, my Tesla exposure is specific to Dynasty because I don't need necessarily to worry about whether he breaks out this year or it's going to take a Jameson Williams injury for him to really break out. Either way, you know you have him. If he starts to percolate, you can start to go ahead and start to flex him in, and otherwise you can just let him ride on your bench and don't throw him into deals. If you're going to draft him, also, this is the other thing about drafting a guy like Tesla, you better have conviction. Because the last thing you want to do is draft a guy like that, don't get to play him much, he doesn't help your team at all, you throw him into a deal, and then he breaks out for somebody else. People have left dynasty leagues because shit like that happened. Because they let Michael Wilson go as a throw-in, and then you're like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm done. I'm done. Don't do it. Don't do it. You bring in a guy like Michael Wilson, have conviction. Don't put him in it. Don't throw him in. Get to a point where you have to drop him. Better than throwing him into a deal as a throw-in. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yes, I was. I didn't know if you're getting ready to fire another point there.
Tesla is 0% owned in the Rabbit. He is player number 208 on the slate. So yes, in deeper best ball leagues, I think he is absolutely the right guy to target on the right team, the right profile. You can dabble in best ball, but I mean, we're mostly talking dynasty today, and that is the luxury fringe receiver that you should be grabbing.
There's a lot of
in the second half of a startup, or trying to get him as a throw-in.
In this new era, there's a lot of Teslas coming. And I'm talking about situationally and talent, like Trey Harris.
You said Torrey Horton.
Torrey Horton from Seattle. What happened to Alex Pierce this year? Where it's a really talented guy that's considered a distant number 3 that everybody's just started to give up on, myself included. And then all of a sudden, Alex Pierce starts coming into his own. He's a star. If Jameson Williams goes down, Tesla's going to be a star. I think they're going to start Trey Harris next year and get rid of Quentin Johnston. Then Trey Harris is going to be a star. There's a lot of those Tesla type situations that we have to try to figure out and deal with. There's a lot more of those guys coming. Used to be maybe there was one of them a year. Now they're just going to be all over the place.
6'3", 208, Alec Pierce, number 4 in athleticism score in the 2022 class. He is hitting free agency. If there was a receiver we know is hitting free agency, it is Alec Pierce.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think they're going to make a move on Pittman, and I think they're going to keep Pierce.
Shut up. Would you do that?
I don't know that I would invest a ton of money in an Alex Pierce type guy when there's a lot of them coming.
Yes, no, you don't.
So I'd rather have a more true number 1 like Pittman.
Thank you.
But his contract, it's not a Pittman thing. It's a contract thing, and I think they're looking at having to make the choice. They're not going to do both. It's going to be one or the other, and I think contractually they might go Pierce, and make a move on Pittman.
Did they not know that they basically had a guy like Alec Pierce, potentially better than Adonai Mitchell, waiting in the wings? They wouldn't have to pay him at all. I
That
mean,
had
talking.
night
I mean,
Mitchell
this is
draft
the.
pick.
What was this trade? Can we just remind ourselves what this trade was? What were the trade details? I'm gonna remind everybody of the trade details. The Indianapolis Colts acquired All-Pro cornerback Sauce Gardner from the New York Jets in exchange for wide receiver Adonai Mitchell and 2 first-round picks. They just had to do it. They had him over a barrel, and they had to do it. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, that the Jets were like, we want the 2 first rounders, but you got to give us Adonai Mitchell. I would love to know. No, I would love to know whether that was, I need somebody, throw somebody in. We need a receiver, throw in a receiver, any receiver, and they just said you can have Adonai Mitchell. Was that the conversation, or was the conversation these 2 first rounders are great and we're close, but we absolutely need Adonai Mitchell? And they said no, and they come back and they said no, and they come back and they said, listen, it's Adonai Mitchell or we walk. I would love to think it was that.
I think the way that the Jets are run, they're making the Cleveland Browns look sane. I I would go with whatever the stupidest scenario is, whatever a dumb team, a dumb GM, a dumb owner would do. That's what they did. So they were probably enamored with Adonai Mitchell.
You don't like Adonai Mitchell.
Oh, he's the worst.
Why do you think he's the worst?
He can't catch at the NFL level with any type of consistency. So he's going to have a hard time being a good wide receiver if he can't catch every other pass.
So
And
you're out on Adonai Mitchell. I like him.
I want nothing to do with no. Oh God, no. I don't like Adonai Mitchell, and then I definitely don't like Adonai Mitchell if you put him on the New York Jets.
You don't think that this is just young receiver? He's big, athletic. I think he complements Garrett Wilson very well. You're not going to give him any benefit of the doubt of being a young receiver who didn't get a lot of reps in college and
No,
still developing. You're not, even though
no.
we
I think
just saw this happen with Alec Pierce.
there are guys. Well, when I scouted Alex Pierce, I'm like, there's a talent, and then I was shocked that he went into the wilderness for a couple of years. When I saw Mitchell, I was like, why? This is not a first round draft pick wide receiver. This is a wide receiver like Xavier Leggett. Like these guys can't really play the position. They're super fast, and they're
Well,
going to
Liggett's
catch
not
some
even that
passes
fast.
if you give them if you give them
Liggett's not even that fast. There's no reason you do. Liggett's a zero. You can't.
if you
There's
give
nothing.
him enough targets,
He's a zero. I know he's a zero.
you give
Keon
either of
Coleman at
those
this
guys
point.
enough targets,
Keon Coleman and
something's
Xavier
going to
Leggett,
happen.
they're zeros at this point. No, but Mitchell actually is a field stretcher. This is very different. This gives him a different element in Dynasty. This was Alec Pierce had that all along and was worth holding on to in a way that a guy like Liggett is not worth holding on to. So we're going to agree to disagree here. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Mitchell is a star. The guy I want on that team is Garrett Wilson. That's who I want. Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson. I think he helps Garrett Wilson. I think he makes their passing game better. I think that Adonai Mitchell is an upgrade for that offense. And I'm interested to see when Wilson is on the field, are some of these targets a little more catchable, a little easier for the quarterback to hit him? Is the window's open slightly higher? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is one where we're on the same page, man. Tesla, we're on the same page. Let's agree to you and me agree to disagree on Adonai Mitchell. And what about the backfield in New York? What about the backfield? Because there's another player that most are projecting to hit free agency, just like Alec Pierce, and that's Brees Hall. Do you think he signs back with the Jets? Hard to believe.
I think they're going to tag him, and force him to stay there.
Really?
Unfortunately for him, yeah.
They don't have anyone better to tag?
It's the, have you seen the Jets?
I guess they don't have anyone on defense. I always assume
They
that,
paid Wilson already. They
yeah.
paid Gardner already, but he's gone. There's I don't even know if I can name anybody on the Jets defense
Oh,
now.
that's bad luck for Braylon Allen, isn't it? If they're so hollowed out that they just sort of like, well, we might as well
Lem-
franchise tag Brees Hall because that's all we got.
I'm
And
going to
then and
separate.
Braylon Allen's like, man, I deserve a shot here. And then Isaiah Davis behind him. So ideally, see, if it's me and I'm running the Jets, I don't even worry about Brees Hall. I just let him hit free agency. If we don't even have a franchise tag that we even use, who cares?
Yeah,
I'm not paying more than we need to for a running back, especially when I have Allen, I have Davis, and I can go and draft another one.
but this is the Jets, and I mean that. I mean, there's the joking aspect of that, but then there's the reality of the way that franchise is being run. They've turned over all the coaches. They just fired the offensive coordinator yesterday. Like we're 3 weeks past the season, and they're fighting with the offensive coordinator in the offseason, and it's 3 weeks later they're firing him. They're trying to get Frank Reich to be the offensive overseer, I guess, is what they were trying to do. Everybody's turning them down. Nobody wants to go coach for them. They're so bad. And Aaron Glenn is such a in, mental case. I mean, I don't even know what Aaron Glenn is, but nobody wants to coach with him. I don't think anybody wants to play for him. Uh, they've changed over quarterback coach, now offensive coordinator, defensive coach or defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, offense. I mean, I don't know if they even have a coach left on the staff, and they can't find anybody willing to. I think they may have hired Wink Martindale. Like they had to go get anybody who would
Wink
like a
Martindale.
paycheck. Yeah, Don Martindale, the old that went to that got booted out of the NFL because he wasn't very good at coordinating defenses. So he went to the University of Michigan, I guess, for the last year or two. Um, I think he is either they offered him or he is their defensive coordinator. And now they have no offensive coordinator left. Nobody of nobody with any talent or self-respect or options is going to go be the offensive coordinator for the Jets for Aaron Glenn. So Garrett Wilson is going to be held hostage by that. Brees Hall is going to be tied to that, and or if it's not, it's Braylon Allen's going to be tied to that. I My goal would be I'm just not going to have any Jets on my fantasy team. If if somebody does well from that group, God bless them. Enjoy. Good luck. I got 31 other teams with a whole bunch of other players I can deal with that I don't have to deal with the New York Jets situation.
So we're looking at the fast draft ADP of the Rabbit. Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 16. He's between AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. What do you think of that ADP? You're still out. You're out.
Yeah,
Even at that ADP, you're out.
yeah, because we could go down from 16. And nothing again, nothing against Garrett Wilson. You trade him to the 49ers, and you know now we're talking about maybe a top five guy, or and any number of other teams. But if we looked at that list and we looked at the names past Garrett Wilson, I'm sure I would find guys that I would love to be in business with. And again, it's not Garrett Wilson's fault. It's I don't want anything to do with the Jets, and I don't want anything to do with the Cleveland Browns. And I'm not picking on them. I'm not being the oh those. I mean, those franchises have done it to themselves, but they just keep digging a hole deeper and deeper. With the, I mean, Todd Monken just got hired as the Browns head coach. The Jets have fired or have quit all their staff. Like, why do I want to be a part of those train wrecks when there's so many other options of players to do business with?
Judkins and Sampson are both seemingly great values on
I
fast
like
draft in the Rabbit.
I like both of those players, but I'm not going to have any Cleveland Browns on purpose. I mean, if Sampson in a um, smaller league, or as the season goes on, somebody drops him because he's not getting used, or he's just a backup.
Samson.
Um, I might pick up Browns on accident or taking a cheap look at, but on purpose, I'm not investing anything into the Browns or the Jets because I know their coaching staffs are disasters. Their offensive coordinators are going to be horrible. That's going to affect all the offensive players. That's going to affect the quarterback.
Okay. Samson in Dynasty, though. If there's a Brown, Samson in Dynasty, right?
PPR, yeah,
That's what you want. You want Samson in PPR. There's
I really like
contingent
him.
value there. You get an injury to Judkins. I don't care what the offense looks like. He is going to eat. He
And
is.
if
You believe that Samson is both a good runner and catcher of footballs, correct?
yes,
Okay, well, that's what we need to know.
uh, and if they retain their Pro Bowl quarterback, Shador has a really good usage and connection with using Samson, where the quarterbacks before didn't use Samson. So I like the talent.
Samson's one of those running backs I am circling in Dynasty rookie drafts, but also in best ball. He's going to see the field. He's going to have spike weeks when they're trailing and Judkins is scripted off the field.
Yeah, I love that aspect too. They're going to be down a
There
lot
are
and
going to be
throwing a
spike
lot.
weeks with or without Judkins active for Samson in 2026. And that means he's an asset that you want to acquire in Dynasty, and he's also very draftable in best ball. There's also Harold Fan on that team.
Mhm.
And so this is a great dichotomy. You've got the one rookie tight end going into his second year, similar profile, not as productive, but he did go to a frontline school, goes to a frontline team with a great offense, offensive line, awesome situation, Super Bowl caliber talent across the board on the Chargers. Then you have the Browns and Harold Fannin. So give me the case. Why would anyone go Fannin over Gadsden?
Uh, if Shador Sanders is really going to be the starting quarterback there, I would pick Fannin, even though I think Gadsden is better on the field talent. Um,
Whoa. Wait, that's not possible. If you think that he's a better talent, if you think he's a better player, a better receiver, and one guy's on the Chargers and one guy's on the Browns, no way. You can't say that. You can't say that Gadsden's better and I'll still go Fannin.
I'd
The
well,
only way you would go Fannin is if you think Fannin is a dominant talent vis-a-vis
we,
Gadsden.
we just talked about how great Isaac Tesla is, and then talked about how we're not going to have him on our fantasy teams because of the situation. Gadsden is great, but McConkey is there, and Trey Harris is coming into his own, and um, KLS is good,
Okay, I
and
know what's happening. I know
there's
what's
a
happening.
whole
Okay, first I just want to
situation.
say that I disagree, and I'm all Gadsden because I want exposure to the Chargers.
I
And
agree with that.
what I believe is happening here is that you are just simply so all in on Lad McConkey and Trey Harris that that's where your focus is, and that's where you believe Justin Herbert's focus is going to be. That's what's happening.
I don't see on the Cleveland Browns as they're currently constituted that there is any challenger, not even close, to Fannin being the number one target. And if Sanders is the quarterback, Sanders with Fannin took him to that next level via heavy targeting. At the same time, Gadsden's targets were going in decline. Fannin's was skyrocketing just because of the situation. If we want to talk about who's the better talent, I'll take Gadsden. If we're talking about who's in the better fantasy situation, I would go with Fannin.
Are you listening to yourself? You just got done saying that don't want Browns and Jets. Next thing you're
Oh yeah,
saying is
I'm not
two.
going to have
You're
any
saying
Browns and Jets.
a player who's a better talent on the Chargers is actually not your pick. It's the Browns guy. My head's spinning. RC.
Okay, I'm glad you corrected that. I'm not going to have any Browns and Jets, so you are correct. By
Okay.
default, I will go with Gadsden.
Okay. And also, just so you know, the Browns, they've got 2 first-rounders and a very popular position being mocked to the Cleveland Browns at pick 24 and also at pick 6, both of them. People are trying to find ways to send Carnell Tate to Cleveland. They're trying to send Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. They're going first-round wide receiver. So before you start thinking about, Fannin's target share in this sort of based on the 2025 roster, just slow down for a second there. And then just remind me what the hell happened to David Njoku?
I don't. When the season started, it looked like a very nice 1-2 punch
Yeah.
of tight end usage,
Yeah.
and then Njoku just kind
Yeah.
of disappeared,
Was he
and
hurt?
everything went to
Was he
Fannin.
hiding an injury?
Uh, I, you got me. I mean, so for years, all they talked about was how Njoku was a heart and soul of the team, and they were always bringing him back, and he was always the starting tight end. He was never in question, and then all of a sudden, Fannin comes in, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just going to throw everything to the rookie now." So
Well,
I don't know what effect. I don't know.
he's
So
going to
we
hit
do
free
have
agency.
we have the they're going to have to sign. They're going to have to draft wide receivers, but I don't even know who the quarterback for the Browns is going to be for Week 1. I do know that they have Todd Monken as their head coach and an offensive mind, and therefore I just don't want in on that.
My daughter and I have been planning out free agency for the Patriots,
Hmm.
and my advice is always use free agency to acquire positions like tight end. Don't 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 fall for the Gadsdens and the Fannins and think you're going to draft a tight end they're going to produce as a rookie. It's not that common, right? Fannins and Laportas,
So
you know,
Loveland, Warren, Gadsden, Fannin,
right? I mean, I
Helm.
know that there's been Loveland flashed like crazy. Warren was even more productive than Loveland. This was an incredible year for tight ends, but I'm thinking more about day 3 tight ends. You had 2 day 3 tight ends breakout. And that's just so rare and so uncommon. I'm just not ready to call it a trend. In free agency, typically that is one of the best positions to target is tight end. And with David Njoku heading into free agency, being starved for targets primarily because the offense couldn't throw the ball and they had Harold Fannin, he is going to be a value. It's going to be impossible to find a better value in free agency. If you're the Patriots and you need to upgrade the tight end position, which they do, anyone that watches the Patriots and watches Hunter Henry struggle and his doppelganger, Austin Hooper, be basically just like they're indistinguishable, these two guys. And there's certain plays they can make and certain plays they can't, right? It's very much like a Dalton Schultz situation with these guys. So we know you need to upgrade that position. David Njoku please. I just have that one wish in the offseason, one free agent move that I really, really, really want to see. David Njoku to the Patriots. That's what I want.
I think it's going
Now,
to be in David Njoku to the Falcons.
oh my gosh. Wow. So you going to be drafting any Kyle Pitts this year or what?
Would probably not, because it's been such a rug pull all these times, and then all of a sudden, all the wide receivers get hurt. They have no one, literally no one else to throw to, and then he becomes a breakout. Um, I just don't see the need to invest heavy in him when there's all these other options that are have upside and are viable and are talented. I don't know why I hadn't. What Pitts did late in the season has jacked his value back up again because everybody has always hoped he was Superman, me included.
So he became a dynasty trap.
I think so.
Okay, he became a dynasty trap. I
And if they move on
I
from him,
agree. I mean, him and Laporta, we talked about earlier. I'm not drafting either one of them.
if they let Pitts go, just to finish it out, Stefanski and Njoku goes to Cleveland or goes to Atlanta to be with Stefanski.
Okay, so they let Pitts go. They bring in Njoku. That's your theory of the case. A lot needs to happen for that to play out. They drafted Pitts in the top 10. They're kind of, oh my God, for them just to let him walk. We'll see. We'll see. Much easier for the Patriots to just simply just need to, bring in someone to upgrade that position. What about Kittle? When do you think he'll be back?
I think there's a pretty good chance, based on the additional information that I saw, that he'll be ready for Week 1.
Ooh, so there's a value right there. Oh, well, let's just take a quick pick. Quick pick.
But I would get Jake Tongus as
Wait. Did I say
my.
quick pick? I think I said quick pick. I meant quick
You
peek.
did, yeah.
I'm gonna keep that in the show. That's one of my favorite verbal snafus. Okay, let's go all the way down to George Kittle. Look at him. He's down there at tight end 15. He's being drafted after Dallas Goedert in the Rabbit. If you think that is a value, go get the FastDraft app and use code FFM for a $50 deposit match and jump into a Rabbit draft. Okay. Let's talk Caleb Johnson. I want to know what you think about Jaylen Warren, Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh in 2026.
I'll take Kenneth Gainwell over all of them.
Good. Yes.
And as far as Caleb Johnson goes, I liked him coming out of the draft. And then when I saw him in the preseason, I thought that was one of the worst running backs I may have ever seen in a preseason.
Okay.
And then I heard some things from people that I trust about the issues that he was having. And I informed all of my subscribers to run, to bail, to trade. If you already did your Dynasty rookie draft, trade Caleb Johnson now before all the news comes out and he's not active and he's not really taken seriously this year. And then that's what happened. I don't know. I don't know that it's
an
changing.
effort? Is this an effort issue? Is this a behavioral issue?
There's a both of those at play, but at its core, to me, what I saw in the preseason, there's two guys that had this issue that were somewhere between dumb and really didn't look like they were interested in playing football and really didn't want to get hit. Caleb Johnson really didn't want to get hit. And that's shocking because he was more, I thought he was like a good power back in between the tackles in college, but in the I've never seen, when I saw it, I'm like, we got to get out of. I was drafting Caleb Johnson in the late Dynasty rookie draft as a running back play, and then I'm like, I'm just going to sell him for even value and just get out of this. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe he's going to turn, but I
be
want
careful.
out.
I would be very careful. Be very careful. I heard this about Jonathan Taylor in his rookie year.
Well,
okay. So I want to say, but because he was Jonathan Taylor.
But Jonathan Taylor produced.
Not in his rookie year. He really struggled for many, many weeks. And Caleb Johnson never had that opportunity to work his way through it. So there's a possibility that Caleb Johnson works his way through it. He is an incredible raw talent, big size, speed specimen. I'm not going to be out on him. I would have been. I'm a little more inclined to give players the benefit of the doubt here, especially when they are, top 100 picks. That's something that I've changed my evaluation process a little bit, and again, particularly with these top picks, I really not necessarily wide receivers as much, but running backs and quarterbacks, and even tight ends. I am much more inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt. Think about a guy like Michael Mayer, right? Like I am in on Michael Mayer. I think he's a guy I'm targeting like crazy, and I'm like, hey, this guy was Mr. Football at Notre Dame, and it was a top 40 pick, and they just couldn't say no to Brock Bowers. But that's not a reason to hate Michael Mayer. So, and then with Pittsburgh, they found lightning in a bottle, literally, not literally, but figuratively, but literally, in Kenneth Gainwell. It's like, hey, we can throw it to this guy and he goes 50 yards. We got to play him, right? And Caleb Johnson's not ready. Okay, fine.
Well, I think it goes a couple steps deeper. On the Kenneth Gainwell side, I was assuming that Kenneth Gainwell was just going to hit free agency in a absolutely running back loaded free agency. The running back class, the running back situations that are all going to change between the draft and between free agency is going to be insane. Trying to get 2015 running back talents shoehorned into rosters that there's maybe only three of the musical chairs left for 10 of them that could claim to be starters, but there's no place to go to start. I thought Gainwell was going to be just out in the free agency and go back to being satellite back guy. But when Mike McCarthy got hired on the because that was going to bring Aaron Rodgers back, if Aaron Rodgers is back there, he is absolutely connected to Kenneth Gainwell. That's his guy, whether he deserves to or not, or whether they should give the other guys. Kenneth Gainwell is locked to Aaron Rodgers. So I want Kenneth Gainwell over all of those guys because of Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers back. If it wasn't Mike McCarthy and there was no Aaron Rodgers going
Yeah,
to be
I know. I
back,
know. We
then,
get it. We get. Yeah,
yeah.
I know. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is running that team, and he is going to. He's very. He's very Steeler. He found the perfect cultural fit. Like he is a real match. Like he wants guys that he trusts, veterans, and the Steelers have been known for that for many years. That they're the hardest team to break into the depth chart on. If you're a young guy, especially if you're a day 3 pick, working your way up that depth chart, it's a challenge. Darnell Wright, guys like they not Darnell Wright. Who am I
Washington,
who am I thinking of?
Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington, excuse me. We talked about Darnell Wright earlier. Darnell Washington, like suddenly, like he can't. The thing is, like they're not opposed to drafting guys that are a little bit raw either, though. That's the other thing. That's what's interesting about it, is that they will happily draft a guy that's a little bit on the raw side, but they'll tell him, hey, you're sitting for 2 years. So that is possible. And then so that's the danger with Caleb Williams. I'm not out here running into the arms of Caleb Williams, Caleb Johnson. I am definitely not out here running into the arms of Caleb Johnson. That is not happening. I am just telling you that this is if he falls far enough, the value is there. And I'm the guy stockpiling all these running backs. The reason why this strategy works is because you can make sure you get a significant percentage, 15% plus. Caleb Johnson, make sure you have plenty of exposure just in case, because if he hits and things break his way, it's going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely huge. So that's why that roster build where you can allocate the vast majority of your bench to running backs, that's what it affords you.
I'm good with that. I'm not closing the door totally on him, but I don't think he's going to be the starter
It might
this
be
year.
sometimes like behavioral issues and he's spending too much time with people back home and all these things. A lot of times that's like a rookie year maturity growth year. And then they
And
come
Aaron
back and they
Rodgers is a good
realize, hey,
mentor.
these people were not helping me. I had a heart-to-heart with my parents. I had a tough rookie year. Next thing you know, they come back a different guy. This happens all the time in the NFL. So again, this is why I give guys like that the benefit of the doubt. The problem is the league, it just isn't here for it. If you're a day 3 guy and you're not dialed in, then then it can very, very, very much be over for you. So there's a higher standard for those guys. Ashton Genty or Jeremiah Love? Who you got? Just
Ashton
any
Genty,
format.
Ashton Genty all day long. I would trade my 101 in formats where that's going to be Love to get Genty straight up.
In 2 QB as well.
Um,
Because if what
for
we're saying
for
is there's lots of
rookies, you
depth.
talk about rookie QBs.
Yeah. If we're saying there's lots of depth, there's lots of options. Every year you can find a guy that's, again, coming off the trash heap. Up, whoop, right, up, whoop. Suddenly the reason to go Mendoza in your rookie draft goes down a notch. There's less incentive to go with that rookie quarterback in the draft based on the thesis you laid out at the beginning. That means I'll trade the 101 even in superflex to get Ashton Genty, and I'm on board with that. I'm absolutely on board. In fact, I think that's the natural conclusion. That's where it leads us. If there's a particular tactic, it would be exactly that. That's the natural conclusion.
And I'm assuming you would agree. I like Jeremiah Love. I think he looks like he's going to be a good player. But I will take the Ashton Genty that I've seen in the NFL, and I go, okay, this guy's a star. And they've changed it over the coaching staff, so anything coming in is going to be better than what they had. So
they had the worst coaching staff. Their offensive coordinator, was it Pete Carroll's son? He didn't know enough that they had to bring in help. It's like in movies when the director's too young and novice and just wrote a good script but doesn't actually know how to direct, so the director of photography has to do all the work, the DP. So they basically had to bring in a DP to help with the offensive line because the offensive line was getting frustrated and actively speaking out internally, being like, he's incompetent. How do we tell the coach that we need a grown-up in the room to help us? So when I heard all that, I'm like, okay, Genty to the moon in 2026 because they're going to get that's easy organizational.
And he's a known thing. I don't know what Jeremiah Love's going to be like in the pros. I don't know if he's going to have a problem in the pre. I'm sure he'll be fine, but I know what I'm getting in Genty. So I'll take Genty.
Smash. Genty's super smash in all formats. What about Tyler Algier?
Love the player.
Smash. Well, he's going to be a free agent.
He's a free agent. I don't know if he's going anywhere where he's going to be the main lead running back. That he's just not going to get thrown into another split role, which is fine. That he got pretty good touches with Bijan anyway. But if he's in a split, I'm still interested. I like him, but I wish he could go somewhere and just be a lead back with the second guy in support. But I don't know if Algier's going to get that chance.
It would be neat if somehow the Patriots
I thought it was going to be to Pittsburgh.
If the Patriots could swap out Stevenson for Algier, can you imagine?
Oh, that would be great.
Can you imagine all those plays where Stevenson looks like he's trying hard and he's big and he looks like he's getting extra yards? I'm like, guys, Algier gets an extra yard on every single one of those plays. All those Stevenson runs, Algier gets an extra yard. That'd be great. I love Algier this year because you get the contingent upside if Bijan misses time, and then if he goes into free agency, it's completely on. So yeah. I like it. What about this Carolina backfield? You have Dowdle. There's maybe not a place for him. Where would he land? Chuba is underrated, been perennial under. I mean, Jonathan Brooks is a forgotten man, but he was a talent, and he's going to be back and probably 100% for camp. So what are you thinking? How's this backfield? I think it's a backfield that is begging for investment because there is no there's no certainty yet. So there you can take advantage of the uncertainty and the how ambiguous the depth chart is there in Carolina. I think you bet on all three of these guys.
If I had a stack of poker chips for this question, I would shove them all in on Chuba Hubbard.
Yes.
The
He's
reason
really
being,
good. He's really good. He's an
well,
all-purpose back with a 2,000-yard season in college.
and Dowdle is good, and
Yes,
Jonathan
Dowdle is
Brooks
fantastic.
is potentially good, but
I
Dowdle is
can't
gone.
believe how good
Dowdle's
Dowdle
not good.
looks.
Yeah, Dowdle's not even going to be there, so it's going to be Hubbard and Brooks. Dowdle's a free agent, and he's pissed. And the reason why I put all my chips in on Hubbard is the reason why Dowdle is pissed that Dave Canales is all in on Chuba Hubbard, just like Jonathan Gannon was all in on James Conner, whether it made sense or not. I think it pained Dave Canales to watch Dowdle get 200-yard games back to back. He's like, how am I going to get Chuba Hubbard back in when Dowdle's doing all these 200-yard games? And in fact, so that those games happened with Hubbard out. When Hubbard got over his whatever after 2 weeks, Hubbard started the next day. Dowdle 200, and then Hubbard
Right
started
back
the
to
next
Hubbard.
week. That's
Hubbard's
the
good, though.
situation in Carolina, and he's good. But I'm saying the situation. That's what you want over, especially for the price on him. I think Tyler Algier is a super talent, but I don't know who loves Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier among the NFL coaches and teams. I do know that Chuba Hubbard is the most loved running back by Dave Canales, so I'm buying a guaranteed thing.
It's true. It's true. Dynasty Dominator book. Dynasty Dominator book. We talk about handcuffing running backs in Dynasty, something you would never do in a seasonal league. Absolutely. I want to have a Dynasty team with Dowdle and Brooks and Hubbard. I aspire to have that. I want that. And it's a win either way. These Dynasty teams, their rosters are deep, 20-plus players. You can accommodate all these running backs, and it's a win. This is an offense that's heading in the right direction. Offensive line's what you want. Someone's going to give Dowdle some money. He could end up in Houston. There's a lot of places he could end up. Especially if Algier goes back to Atlanta, and Gainwell goes back to Pittsburgh. Suddenly, the number of free agents goes down. I mean, we talked about Walker going back to Seattle now is almost a lock. So suddenly you have a lot of running backs that were ticketed for free agency. Oh, the Jets are franchising Breece Hall. Suddenly, wait a second. I thought this was a strong class. We got to get Dowdle. You can see that. And then, so that's how I can see that playing out. Big year incoming for Monangai, your guy. Congratulations. By the way, you also mentioned, and this is, I can't believe you, and this, we have to mention that you said this, that Monangai was one of the best prospects in the class, and he was right there with Genty. You said that you said it, dude. I mean, no one said that. Who else we even whisper that? You came on a podcast like, hey, this is where I'm planting my flag. And then Monangai's out here week after week. Everyone's like, their best running back.
And he's that, if Ben Johnson is going to pattern what he had in Detroit, if he's going to do a Montgomery and Gibbs type of thing, Monangai is going to be the Montgomery, and Montgomery has been a payoff with Gibbs for years until this year with injuries, and it got disconnected. So Monangai could work on his own if he's the lead, but I think he's going to be in some kind of split. But that offense is going to be so good. The David Montgomery can pay off when the Lions offense was so amazing and so high scoring 3 years ago and 2 seasons ago. Montgomery, he doesn't have to have all the touches. Monangai doesn't have to have all the touches. He can ride the coattails of the great offensive line, potentially the best offensive line in the NFL next year, with arguably the most dangerous quarterback and the smartest offensive head coach this side of maybe McVay or Shanahan. So Monangai, whatever you think of him, he's in about as perfect a spot as you could want to be. It's just who's going to run with him is the only question.
Every format. Every time. It's the two guys you talked about last year, Genty and Monangai. Just Genty and Monangai, every format, every time. Okay, Genty, Monangai, and Tyler Algier. Okay, Genty, Monangai, and Tyler Algier, and all the Panthers. Okay, that's it. Just those guys. All right, so I have two more questions, and I'll get you out of here.
Okay.
We have one more. We got to talk about Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson. Before we do that, how do you see the 49ers wide receiver core playing out? This is a very interesting wide receiver core. Ricky Pearsall seems like a scream, just a screaming upside play right now. But you tell me how you see it playing out.
I do think Pearsall's a screaming bot. The lower he goes, as everybody starts to fade out on him now and say he's the injured guy. But I know that if I'm buying into that, I'm buying into the injured guy. That there's just a high probability with him. So I'm at a certain price. I'm willing to go in on it, but my conviction is wobbly because the guy cannot stay on the field.
Listen, he's young. Okay. Yes, you have some early. He's mildly more likely to get injured again because of these early career injuries, but it's not a death sentence. This isn't a foregone conclusion. It's not a certainty he's going to get injured. The probability has ratcheted up, that's for sure. But to me, I just see an overreaction, overcorrection to this injury-prone tag. Usually, that's one of the guys to target. Especially if they're hollowing out the wide receiver room. Ayuk is gone, and there's all this uncertainty there. He's the one asset that has the contract, going to be there another 2 years, and he has athleticism. He is a big playmaker. He has broken out. He showed and flashed at the end of last year, so we've seen it on an NFL field. And he's got a pocket passer in Brock Purdy, who put up over 20 fantasy points a game last year. And he has the offensive coordinator that you want. You know that this is a competent offensive coordinator. So when you go down the list of value receivers, I can see my bottom two receivers. I have a top heavy wide receiver room with Pearsall and a Tesla as my sleepers in Dynasty, with the way I like to build Dynasty rosters. That's what I would do. Final question: who you got this coming year and the rest of their careers, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Michael Wilson?
Do you now agree with me that there was 5 other better wide receivers in the draft than Marvin Harrison?
I do.
Marvin Harrison still stinks. and Michael Wilson is and was this season on the field the better version of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I am not joking. I am not kidding. That was not situational. That was not, hey, Marvin Harrison was out, so we had to give some other guy some targets.
We're talking about a wow factor play per game. At least one wow factor play per game for Michael Wilson.
He was stunning. He was better than I even thought he was going to. I really liked his game. I didn't know he could be that good. He's one of the, just, if you take all the situational and who's the quarterback and I take all that crap out of it and you just go, for me, you just go, who are the best wide receivers that I watch? Michael Wilson has to be one of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL or close to it. So I'm taking.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.